Well, I'm delighted to say that Gary Murphy, who is the golf pro at the K Club, is with us this morning. Gary, how are you getting on?
Very well, very well, guys. Good morning to you.
Let's start with Bryson DeChambeau then. Have you ever hit a tee shot so hard that your club is broken in half?
Certainly not. I've certainly broken a driver leaning on it after hitting a tee shot, but and it was great because McGinley was spot on with that rule last night, which is only fair. But as Adrian was saying earlier, it's not like DeChambeau wouldn't be organised, and he had a perfect replacement. And he's a very interesting character, but it was a good break for DeChambeau, let's say.
Were you, like the rest of us, Gary, were you hoping that he'd smashed it in anger?
Not really, because his driver is such a story. I mean, he's hitting the ball crazy distance with it, although Adam Scott did give him a nice dig, saying that he thought he would be a bit longer than what he was. But DeChambeau he's a strange character. I think that he's box office. It's a case now where that the thing with him and Koepka and whatever he does gets commented on. Not necessarily like the way he plays as such. I don't think it's something for everyone to copy. Probably all those golf coaches will get a lot of business out of it. But listen, he's a superstar player who's only been in the pro game 4.5, 5 years, and he's certainly box office, but not a huge fan of the way he does things.
Why so? What particularly is it about the way he does things that rubs you up the wrong way, that perhaps rubs people up the wrong way in general?
I always prefer the kind of artist golfer. I know with modern technology, the players are so fit now, it's almost nearly a lost art. Just even the way he played the first hole, he just stands up and hits it 50 yards left, and he's hit a little flick of a wedge into the green. This course, in theory, will suit him because you can cross, as Mickelson did, you can cross fairways and not really get in trouble. It seems to be the further offline you are around here, the easier it is, which should, in theory, play into his hands. But I think I don't want this to be the norm in 10 years' time, and unfortunately, with certain players, that's probably the way it's going to go. Young kids are going to watch this and go, I'm going to get in the gym, hit it as far as I possibly can and go find it. I think I'm still, and I'm not being an old fuddy-duddy, but I think this strategy to golf is something that we should try hang on to if we can.
And how do we hang on to it, Gary? Is it just kind of more regulations with the length of the golf courses, with how challenging golf courses are and where the specific challenges lie, or is pointing to the golf courses the wrong place to look at the moment? Is it the equipment that the golfers use? How do you arrest this?
The golf ball is the big thing. I think if you saw at Muirfield Village a couple of weeks ago, they two tournaments on the same golf course in 2 weeks, and they had two totally different setups. The first week, I think there was 49 guys finished under par. The second week, there was 9 guys under par. Now that's all well and good, but who has the money to prepare courses like that week in, week out? Very few people do. The golf ball, the technology is amazing. It's very hard to tell the difference with a guy driving a ball now off 20 handicap and 10 handicap because the equipment is so good. It's so much easier to hit the ball. It hasn't directly transferred down to the amateur game at the mid-level, but at the top level it certainly has, because we're seeing a more scientific approach where top amateurs, you look at Morikawa, Hovland, Wolf, they're coming out of the college scene and they're ready to compete on tour. The only way to slow it down is the golf ball.
Gary, I wonder I'm interested to get a professional golfer's take on this, because looking at it from the outside in, I can't remember not quite a needless rivalry. The only thing I can think about is Sergio Garcia and the rest of the tour in terms of that sort of over and back, and Koepka obviously taking every opportunity that he can to have a needle. There he was at it again last night about the scientist thing, and with the ant stuff obviously last week. From the outside looking in, it's brilliant to watch, absolutely box office. I wonder, from a professional golfer's point of view, are the rest of the players like as eager to see what Kep has to say about all of this, and is that sort of level of like it's nothing to do with golf, but bloody hell, it's entertaining? Does that exist amongst the players as well?
Yeah, I'd say Patrick Reed is delighted because he seems to have taken all the heat off him. Yeah, there's no doubt that DeChambeau can be a divisive character, and Koepka seems to have taken on the role as spokesman or spokesperson for everybody else. So I'm sure the rest of the guys are kind of sat there. You know, Bryson is saying everything, or Brooks is saying everything that they're thinking. He's not that popular in the locker room, DeChambeau. I like him for the fact that he's a young kid that's come out and he's doing it his own way. And you really have to admire that. But I think Koepka is just trying to play mind games almost with himself. He seems, the difference between him in regular events and majors, although last week was his best ever ball striking in a regular event in Memphis, which really sets him up beautifully for this week. But he seems to have to play mind games with himself to get himself up for majors, and putting himself under pressure to say he's going to perform is what works well for him. He's taken on DeChambeau, which is great fun for us, but I think it's just another tool for him to get his mind into a place where he's going to demand a performance.
You mentioned there a moment ago, Gary, that perhaps the art of navigating your way around a tricky golf course is perhaps starting to die as a result of big hitters like Bryson DeChambeau. It's something that they picked up in commentary last night as well, saying that the art of Tiger Woods and trying to watch him navigate his way around a golf course like this is something that we need to cling on to and admire. How impressed were you with Tiger yesterday, or how surprised were you with the round that he put in?
I wasn't surprised because he's Tiger Woods, and the detail that he would go to prepare at home for the tournament is what he can do. He's always been a guy that hasn't played a huge amount of golf anyway. The only thing that worried me was, I don't know if you saw, but when he walked back into the scorers hut after his round, like, he really doesn't look physically in good shape. So you just have to wonder, where is his back at? What sort of painkillers is he on to just, stay upwardly mobile? But his golf is the complete opposite to what DeChambeau is doing. He's navigating his way around the golf course. He's always been the greatest mid-iron player that's probably ever played the game. That's his strength. As with every golfer, no matter what your level is, you have to try play to your strengths. Although, he drove the ball quite well yesterday, but I love watching Tiger play golf.
The issue with the back is going to be something that crops up throughout the weekend. Like, this isn't the Tiger Woods of 2009 at Torrey Pines, who can somehow get his way through. Like, he's pointed out this himself over the last couple of weeks, that it's tough getting old, it's tough aging, and perhaps this is, well, it's not perhaps, it's definitely going to be the toughest physical test he faces if that back flares up throughout the weekend. It seems that the conditions are going to be as important for Tiger Woods and his body as much as anybody else this weekend. If it stays warm, he's got a better chance of actually going the distance.
Yeah, or as Conor Moore would say, really tough. But it does. I mean, it's not really that cold over there, is it? Like, I think Port Rush was cold. It's not going to be, well, let's hope it's not going to be, damp and that wet seeping into it. I think that's more of a cold. Tiger is probably the opposite to Brooks. He likes to talk himself down. And
on that, Gary, is he just gaming everybody? Like, people are talking about Tiger Woods like he's 60. Like, the man is 44 years of age. I know he's had his very obvious and high-profile issues, but do you think is there an element of this that's kind of gaming everybody to say weak little Tiger?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look the way he plays, I mean, there's, it's, I guess you were almost talking there about the Torrey Pines in 09, like the, or was it 06? But the knee and the back are two totally different things.
Yeah. Obviously,
you can go around with the knee, the back. I was at the Masters in 2015, and I saw Tiger, he walked past me, forgot to say hello, but coming out of the clubhouse. And it was just astonishing how rigid he was when he was walking. Now, that is the way he operates. He slows everything down when he's out playing. But I'd agree with you, Adrian. I think he's gaming them a little bit. You know, he's out with Justin Thomas, who won last week, Rory, who's Rory, you know, and he schooled the two boys yesterday. So they know the Tiger story. I'd love to see him hang around late on Sunday and be in the mix, because as we all know, when Tiger Woods is in contention, it's just box office.
For sure. Let's talk a little bit about Rory. He steadied the ship yesterday after a fairly poor start. Was there any inkling, Gary, that he's starting to get back a little bit of his pre-lockdown form?
A little bit. I'm a big Rory fan. I'm very surprised the way he's been performing. It's understandable. I think Tiger mentioned it as well at Muirfield. It's bizarre for these guys who are used to so much hype and noise and play immediately from a Thursday morning with adrenaline. And that's not been the case. That's been the big issue for Rory. And then he's just gotten a bit flat. Now I haven't seen his wife traveling with him either. So, you know, there's not a lot of family. I know Shane Lowry's wife has gone home. You know, it's a tough gig. They're in a bubble. It's not the same normal stuff that they have week in, week out. They're not really going out for dinner together. You know, just so the time off the golf course is probably hasn't suited him that much, because he just doesn't seem himself, although he battled really well yesterday. And I think that putt on his final green was an important putt just to shoot level par. We're just waiting for Rory to turn up. That's the big thing. He's capable of going crazy. I don't know if it's going to be this week, but certainly, you know, we've got this and two more majors. I'm still confident he's going to win a major this year.
Sorry, go on, Adrian.
I was just going to say about Shane Lowry as well. Gary, obviously, we didn't get to see a huge amount of him last night, but did see the piece with him afterwards, 2 under par, saying the course, I think his own words were, it's not playing easily, but ... It's a good thing to hear. He was saying that the practice rounds are a bit more challenging, but a good thing to hear that he's, even though he by his own admission, a little bit wayward, finding his way around the course.
Yeah, he was good. 2 under is a really good opening round. He'd only 1 bogey, which is, I think that's the key for Lowry for the next 3 rounds. If he's going to contend, it's trying to keep the mistakes off his card. He's always going to make some birdies. I think the guy that wins this week will possibly have the least amount of bogeys. It's just that kind of course, strategy will be hugely important. Justin Rose mentioned it when he hit in the rough, and he didn't go for that chasey, choppy 5-wood. He's using his wedge game, which is Lowry's probably his strong suit. But Shane's in a good place. He's got Bo back in the bag last week and they finished 6th. And that will help him. As much as I was saying about Rory too, it'll help him off the course as well, because they're kind of renting a house every week. They're hanging out together. You know, there's a lot of downtime, and especially in lockdown, as they pretty much are. So I think I think Shane also has a friend over with him, and just trying to keep things calm and normal. As we know with Lowry, he's a bit of a home bird. He's been in the States since February. So it's a long time on the road too. And I think people forget that. You know, it's not just a golfer that turns up on the first tee. There's a lot of other stuff going on. But Lowry seems to be in a good place. And I know this is a major and he wants to do well, but he's still trying to get in those FedEx playoffs as well. And he's outside that mark at the moment.
If you had to call it at this point, Gary, from what you've seen on the opening day, who's going to win the US PGA Championship?
Easy question. I wish I knew. I fancied Xander Schauffele strongly at the start of the week, and I guess I'm going to have to stick with him. He opened with 4 under par, which is a great start.
Gary, thanks a million for taking the call this morning. Appreciate it.
Pleasure, guys.
Gary Murphy there, golf pro at the K Club. Just a reminder that a fundraiser for Amy Lowry is taking place at the Ryder Cup course Palmer North at the K Club on Thursday the 27th of August. Gary Murphy, who you've just been hearing from, is playing one hand, one hole, where you can try and beat the pro on the 8th hole on the day. Check out Amy Lowry's GoFundMe page if you want to help.